Day 3, Chapter 4, Greenfoot. Alright, here's what we're going to do. Yesterday, we made some empty boxes called variables. And we didn't put anything in them. They're empty. Today, we're going to fill the empty boxes, and we're going to do that with the assignment statement. That enables us to store something into a variable. This is how we put stuff in the box. So here's how you do it in general. You say, here's the name of the variable. You use this symbol. What is it called? Write that down. That's a question. And then you put the expression of what you want to put in there. An example would be num equals 5. Or in our example, we're going to say image1 equals new greenfoot image crab.png. This is the name of the variable. This says now holds or becomes. And then this is what we're going to stick into it. Okay, so we had an empty box. Now we're going to stick a new object in it called greenfoot image, and it's going to display the crab.png. Write this down. Assignment statement assigns an object or a value to a variable. Okay, here we go. Now look, yesterday these were empty, and now these things are going inside them, but not actually going inside them. There's just a reference. Like if I were to say, hey, image1, we wouldn't say this, but let's say num. I say, hey, if I said num equals 5, well, you'd actually stick the 5 in there because it's little. But when you're trying to stick an entire object into a variable, it doesn't fit very well. So basically what you do is instead you just say a reference. You say, hey, if I talk about image1, I'm really talking about this guy over here. He's saved somewhere else, so it's a reference. So sometimes you actually stick a thing in the box, and sometimes you just have a reference or an arrow pointing to where the thing really is. We now have 3 objects, 1 crab and 2 images. So you have 1 crab and 2 images. The crab has 2 variables that contain references to the images. So that's what the arrow represents, is that as a reference. We can act, though, for all intents and purposes, we can act as if the images are inside the box when in reality it's just a reference. When an object is assigned to a variable, the variable contains a reference to the object, not the object itself. But when a value like a number or like true or false, so Boolean would work too, when a value is assigned to a variable, you actually stick the value in the box. So the question is, okay, in our brains we picture, a crab that's carrying around 2 boxes and you can stick stuff in it. But what is in reality what is the box? What is it really? We talked about this yesterday. So answer those questions. All right, using actor constructors. All right, where should we put the code that initializes these images? So what I'm saying is we haven't written the code yet that will actually do this. Okay. We haven't done that where we already have our empty boxes and we're going to initialize it, which means we're going to stick something into those empty boxes for the first time. Where should you put the code that initializes these images? What do you think? Just guess if you don't know. Okay, where should we put the code that initializes these images? Should we put it in the act method? No, because the act method happens over and over and over and over and over. You don't want to just keep putting the image in and a new image in. That's wasteful. Okay, wastes resources. Do we want to put it in crab world? No, because the crab world is not the crab. We want it to. They belong to the crab. Well, where then should we put it? In the constructor of the actor class or the constructor of the crab? Yep, that's a good place. But we don't have a constructor for that yet. We made a constructor for the world, but not for the crab, so that's what we're going to do next. All right, so here's what it's going to look like. So here's where you create the variable private greenfoot image1, and then here is where we initialize it. We're going to actually say, hey, I want to actually stick something in the box, and notice where we do it. We do it in this thing called public crab, and that is its constructor. So we're going to do that. The code in the constructor is executed once when the actor is created, and this only happens, this code right here in the constructor only happens when the crab is placed into the world. Or created, not necessarily placed in the world. It initializes 2 instance variables, creates 2 greenfoot image objects, and sticks a reference to them in the box. Okay, so the signature of an actor constructor does not include a return type. So notice that we don't say it's like an integer or anything. We just say public crab. Okay, and there's no return type. The name of a constructor is the same as the name of the class. So you have public class crab, you have public crab. That's always going to be the same. The constructor is automatically executed when a crab object is created. So as soon as a new crab is made, this code runs. Write that down. All right, check this out. So, oh wow, you can't even see this. This is crazy. All right, anyway, so here's what happens. This is where you declare the variables. or create them. So you create an empty box right there. Okay, let's read this. When we first assign a value or object to a variable, we initialize it. So this is right here is where we initialize it. So we create an empty box up here, and now we're saying, hey, stick a new Greenfoot image inside the empty box. And then over here, we're actually going to use the variable. So we're going to say, hey, for the crab, I want you to set the image to image 1. So what does it do? It said, oh, we need to set the image to image 1. So here's what it does. It goes over here. Let's go back and look at something. It said, oh, what's image 1? Oh, image 1 is a reference to this picture. Okay, so I'm going to take this picture here. I'm going to make this the new image for the crab. So you can see how we have now not only so far what we've done here is we've declared the variable, made the empty boxes, we've stuck something in the empty box, and then we're actually using the variable. This is why we're doing it. Okay. Okay, do these things. Okay, do this and answer these questions. And here's your quiz. Write an assignment statement on paper that assigns the number 7 to an instance variable named crab health. In the following image, why does int x show a number? So if we look here, there's a number there, but there's an arrow there. Why? If you want to make it so that your game always starts with the crab in the middle of the world and 3 lobsters on the left side of the screen, where would you put the code to do it? If you want to make it so that whenever a new lobster is placed in the world, it has an instance variable named health that is initialized to 100, where would you put that code? And ready, stop.